Before we start this week's episode, I just want to make a quick shout out to our newest sponsors, Revolve Uganda. So if you're a content creator out there and you're looking for a professional looking thumbnail just like the one of this video, then do not hesitate to reach out following the link in the description. Thank you. Hey guys, before we start today's episode, I just have a small favor to ask for. I've noticed that 69% of you who watch our content do not subscribe. So if you're out there and you love the content we do and you love the content we put out, I want to ask for a small favor. Please subscribe. And my commitment to you is that I'll keep bringing out the guests you want and talking about the topics you love. So today we are with Geraldine Mukesha, a strategist and communications expert. The topic of today is public speech and communications. So I'll let Geraldine introduce herself, then we dive right into the topic.
Hello, Joel. Happy to be here. I'm Geraldine. I lead the communications and public speaking arm at the Sorki initiative.
Right.
I like to train, I like to teach, and I like to teach about communications amongst other things.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, I think that's brilliant. I've also been part of the Sorki initiative. I think it's very good. And for any young person out there, if you're struggling with like speech problems and confidence, I think you should check out Sorki. I think I'll attach the link in the bio to check out for their next public speaking masterclass. So Geraldine, I wanted us to start off from the point of why public speaking, like of all areas of life. Could you please share with the audience your personal journey of going into public speech?
Okay, my journey started, I was not even aware it was a journey. You know how you're just doing life? But I found myself very drawn to people who speak well, eloquently. Through school, my English teacher in primary, Mr. Kotochen, was very eloquent. Then in high school, my English teacher, Mr. Khalida, was also eloquent. I was drawn to literature. I was drawn to people who speak well. Even in literature, I found myself drawn to people like Maya Angelou and Chimamanda. Chimamanda, not Chimamanda. Yes. Yes. So listening to people like that speak, I was just drawn in, and I didn't know I was sowing a seed or a thread was being, carved within me, threaded within me to speak. I didn't really see myself as a person who would teach people how to speak. It just never occurred to me because I naturally took the science route because that's what I was interested in. But I was also interested in the arts as well. So speaking and being engaged in things like debate in school, and sometimes willingly, sometimes out of compulsion because it was part of a curriculum or part of extra activities to do. I just found myself doing it. But I found that even when I would do it unconsciously, I liked it. But I was also a very shy girl, so I would not intentionally put myself up there. Yeah, but over time and exposing myself even after school to people who speak well. If you speak well, I'm always drawn to you. I was drawn to, when I joined Toastmasters, I was drawn to a lady called Harriet Ositi. She speaks very eloquently. And even in the community, different people just speak eloquently. I'll be drawn to you because I think I just love words. But I had a challenge. When I would speak, sometimes the words would get rambled up. Either my tongue would get twisted or I would just keep saying the same things over and over and over. So I'd just shy away from speaking. I'd be like, no, I'd rather write but not speak. Yeah, but inevitably because of work or maybe things that you're involved in, you're called to the forefront of something to speak. And it always just made me feel like, oh my God, do we have to do this? Yeah, but I challenged myself to get better. Yeah, so I went on a journey of trying to better myself in terms of my delivery. Yes.
So I think public speaking and communication in general, I think it's such a fundamental aspect of human existence. And that's the whole point of like this episode, because I was talking to one of my young cousins at home and I was asking them about something that's fairly complicated. It was about free will. Okay, that's not the point, but I'm trying to bring out a certain aspect of communication. Then she was like, now topics like free will or human existence are quite complicated and you can't just, jump into it. So when I asked her, I was like, okay, she was like, what's your opinion on free will? I tell her. Then I was like, what's yours? Then she's like, I knew the answer, but I don't know. Then I was like, you have no like opinion on it. It's like, I have it, but I want to bring it out in the best way, but I just can't. That's why it clicked to me. I was like, this is the whole point of language and speech, because it bridges that part of the conscious and the unconscious and the conscious. For example, I was listening to Brian, I think he's called Brian Later. He has done a lot of work on Nietzsche and stuff, but he was saying that the whole point language plays is that you can live most of your life unconscious because everything happens in your head. You think that you think in your head. So most of your life happens within your head and what you perceive in the world. But it was like for the purpose of social coordination and for the purpose of articulating your thoughts, you had to learn how to speak so that you can be able to like wrestle out an idea. You're able to think it through the same way that free speech is such a fundamental right and aspect of, the Ugandan constitution. It's because of that very same aspect, because maybe we don't know how to think without speaking or talking to another person. For example, if you think you can go through an idea in your head and probably come up to a very good conclusion, it's most likely that I think it's like 10% of the population or the 8 billion people that can do that, because thinking is such a complicated process. But when we have conversations like this, we get to think through fundamental aspects, and I need to be like, oh, by the way, that makes sense. So in summary, a thought is like a smell. So you have to find a way to bring it into the world, but it has to be in the best way possible. Actually, the example I gave her when I was telling about this, I was like, imagine you're 90% bright, but you're 15% communicative. So that means people perceive you to be 15% communicative. But let me say there is someone, an individual who's 45% bright, but he's 35% communicative. So he will be perceived to be more intelligent than you because of the way he communicates. Yet in actual sense, your 90% is 45, but then we can't look inside your head to know what happens. So it's the way you bring yourself out or the way you communicate that people will be able to know, oh, he makes sense, or this makes sense. So now that's the challenge we're trying to bridge today, because very many people face this issue. Very many people going into such vital positions like leadership, they're like, what's your manifesto? And they're like, and when you talk to him like one-on-one, he has a brilliant manifesto, but if it's addressing like an entire school, so I don't know. And people end up electing an incompetent leader because the competent leader could not articulate his thoughts. So now, how did you, and most of the challenge is being apparently introverted, being shy, and you said you faced a such challenge. So how did you come out of that shell to say that I'm shy, but I'm going to find a way to be comfortable talking to large groups of people? Because if it's a one-on-one, most people can. Though there is a fairly good percentage of people who can still, even if it's a one-on-one. But the biggest percentage is people who can speak to us on a stage or to a group of people, even if it's a Google meeting. Apparently, there is a research that ranked public speech as the second most fear thing. Yeah. So how do you come out of that shell of being shy and presenting to multitudes or big work?
Joe, you spoke about so many things that I've just been trying to wrap my head around there. They make so much sense. I'll tell you a story. I watched a movie. Have you watched The King's Speech?
No.
So you should watch it. It's a beautiful movie about King George VI, who, when his brother abdicated the throne, he found himself at the forefront of leading England. And it was time for war. It was the Second World War. But he had an issue. He was a stammerer. Imagine a king as a stammerer. You are at the forefront of the British Empire. You need to address a full nation in times of war, and you stammer. Imagine what that did to him.
Okay.
So he sought help. He sought help from an Australian speech therapist called Lionel Logg. It's a beautiful movie, how he went through that journey of stammering through, and he bruises his ego, but he went through and eventually managed to be able to speak, even with the stammer, just being able to control it and address the nation in terms of war. It's a movie I would recommend to anybody. I've watched it severally, and it's a movie I'd recommend to anyone, especially if you have a fear of public speaking, which, like you rightly said, is a very big challenge. It's a very, very big fear. People actually fear death more than speaking in public. What does that mean? If you were at a funeral, you'd rather be in the casket than use these. told to present a eulogy. So the first thing that you need to know when you're dealing with speaking in public or just communicating is that fear. It's a real fear. It is a real fear. But what is actual fear rooted in? It's rooted in self. Yeah. And that's where the issue is. When you're speaking in public, if you're focusing on yourself, you're going to look at all the things that you might not think are good enough about you. You're going to look at your limitations. You're going to look at, oh, I'm not good enough. You're going to look at, oh, the audience is too big. They will know that I'm a fraud. Imposter syndrome comes in. All the things come in, plus your own limitations. Maybe you stammer. Maybe you're not eloquent enough. So when you focus on that, and I like what you said about the mind, we think in our minds. So your mind is running, and it's running ahead of you, and then your mouth freezes. When your mouth freezes, you either don't talk, or you keep rambling, or you're saying too many things at the same time. So acknowledging that you have a fear of public speaking is a good place to start. It's a good place to start to know that, okay, I have a problem. It is a very big problem. I am not the only one who has this problem. And it's not even a problem. It's just an issue that we can deal with. Yeah, I'm not the only one who has, and it's not unique to me. And it's something that can be managed. If the King of England, who was a stammerer, could be trained to speak, and he holds a nation through a time of the Second World War, and they listen to him and clap for him, I can do that. Yeah. But how can I do that? I can get help. I can actually get help. So getting training from someone, a speech therapist or just a trainer to help you structure your thoughts and bring them out of your head. Like you talked about, we have so much in our heads. Bringing them out of your head in a structured way and being able to present them to an audience is something that is doable. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So what would you recommend would be the baby steps? Let me say I'm starting from zero. What would be the baby steps to get that, to get that desired result, to be able to communicate, like you say?
Yes. The first thing is to focus on the audience. Who is your audience? Joel, if I could ask you, who do you want to address? What is your message? Who do you want to address? Now, when I say who do you want to address, remove yourself from, think of yourself as a conduit. Yes, think of yourself as a conduit, delivering a message. And in you delivering this message, how do you want your audience to receive this message? So you put yourself in the shoes of the person in the audience. This is the message I am receiving. Am I receiving it well? So it's important for you to know your audience, because your message will be structured differently for different audiences. How you talk to children is not the same way you're going to talk to people who are in campus. It's not the same way you're going to talk to people who are in their mid-20s. It's not the same way you're going to talk to people who are your parents' age. Or you're not going to talk to lawyers the same way you're going to talk to engineers or things like that. You're not going to talk to people who are downtown Kampala the same way you're going to talk to people who are uptown Kampala. You might be sending that same message, but the way you structure it will be different. So know who your audience is. And remember that you're a conduit. As a conduit, your job is to deliver this message the right way to the audience. Because at the end of the day, you want the communication to take place. There's this illusion that we always think that we have communicated. Yeah, because we are talking. But talking does not necessarily mean that the message has been sent across. So we think we are clear, but we are not. We are not clear. Because at the end of your communication, if you ask an audience what was the message about, sometimes people will be like, the guy was talking. I don't know what you are saying. Yeah, you've had instances like that, or you've been in a situation like that where someone talks, and you're like, he was saying so many things that I don't really exactly know what you are saying. So it's very important to know your audience. When you know your audience and you know yourself as a conduit, you now decide, okay, what is it that the audience needs? Yes, what do they need? Put yourself in the audience's shoes. What do they need at the end of this message? What do I want them to do? Do I want them to take action? Do I want them to make a decision? Or am I just giving them some information that will help them? So you need to know that. So now that you know that, you then decide, okay, how am I going to structure this message? What do I start with? How do I move to the next point? And how do I close it that the main point of this message hits home? So it's very important to know who your audience is, to know that you're just a mouthpiece. Yes. When we say you're just a mouthpiece, it's not making you invisible. Like you can be a mouthpiece who is well packaged. Yeah. The thing is, it's not about you, but it's about you. You're delivering a message, but it's not really about you. You get what I mean? You have to dress yourself up to deliver this message the right way. That means you have to have a structure. Your voice has to be well articulated, well trained. Your gestures have to be well suitable to your voice, so that this message that you have is going to go to the audience. Now, once you get to know that, let me tell you, Joel, all these fears that you have, all these limitations that you have, somehow slowly fade away because your focus is on that. It's as simple as that. It looks so simple, but it's also complicated. Yes. The challenge is drawing ourselves out of center stage. The focus is not us, the focus is on the audience, and knowing that you are a conduit. Yeah, but a conduit who is doing the most in terms of delivery, in terms of presence, in terms of posture. That is it. Yes.
I think I love that part you say, that you don't center yourself, you consider yourself a mouthpiece. I think that works a lot, and most times we do it unconsciously, because even when I started podcasting or in normal conversations, it would be that every time someone would talk, I'd always be thinking of the next intelligent thing to say. You get, because I'm centering about myself. I'm like, how would I appear to other people? So now you might say so many things and I'm not even listening. I just get one point. Maybe you talked about something I read about. I'm like, okay, now I'm going to zero down on this one, because if I do this, then people won't perceive me as intelligent. And most times such conversations just end up dying, because it leads to that outcome of people are asking, what was the main message? For example, this episode, and guys are like, he talked quite a lot, but I'm not quite sure. It's because everyone kept looking for the next intelligent thing to say to the other. So you're not listening. And also it draws back the point that maybe listening is such a vital aspect of speech as well. Because maybe when we talk about speech, people assume it's more, let me go and talk as much as I can, let me address my points. But maybe half of it is listening. Same way your thought process appears, because part of your thought process is developing an avatar who talks back to you, and you have to think with them. So part of that actually, most of it is listening to what they are saying, and then that's when you can counter with something logical in relation to what they have said. Yeah, I love that you put it that way. So if you're not looking at yourself as the main character, and if you struggle with self-esteem, I think that helps a lot. Yeah, because you're now focusing on what value will I be to the people I'm talking to, and then you just end up focusing on providing that value.
Yeah.
So what are some of the most common challenges people battle with? Because maybe it could be shy, but there are also other challenges. Like maybe say in your class, like some students, what's that most common recurring challenge you see within students when it comes to encountering public speaking?
Joe, that's a very interesting question. And it's something that people ask all the time. And it's something we see all the time. One of the biggest things is that people think that not a natural speaker. It wasn't like it's a gift. Some people are born speakers and others are not. That's such a myth. It really is a myth. Given there are some people who might be naturally more gifted than others in maybe say expressing themselves. But the thing about speaking and communicating, and let me just circle back to what you say. If we don't speak, if the thoughts are in our minds, no one is able to know what we are saying or what we have to offer or what we are able to do. Yeah, if we depend on only the knowledge that we have in our minds, it will still be there. No one will know about you. So that just shows you that we're supposed to speak, and we can speak well. And it's a skill that can be learned. It's like a muscle. Any muscle that is not used is not developed.
Yeah.
It's definitely not developed. But if you put in the work to develop the muscle, even if you have maybe an advantage, maybe for instance, if your bony structure is if let's talk about athletes. If there are different kinds of athletes, there are those who run, there are those who lift weights, there are those who play actual sports, and you can see a raw talent. You can see raw talent in a particular person. But if that person is not coached, if that person is not trained, it stays raw. It's the same with speaking and communicating. We are all born with the ability to communicate. The fact that we have a mouth and that we have language is proof that we are here to communicate using both all our words and our gestures. Yeah. But if we do not develop it, we stay raw. And if you stay raw, think about anything that stays raw, the value stays down. Think about, remember in school, we used to talk about raw, what were they called? Cash crops. And Uganda has a reputation of, exporting cash crops. And then they are brought in back when they have been, value addition has been done. And for instance, coffee, you take out raw coffee and it's brought back, and then you're buying coffee at exorbitant prices, yet it was grown probably from your grandfather's farm, yeah? And it's very disastrous. So think about that. Think about that. You have a voice. You have the ability to speak, to express yourself, but it's raw. How then will you be able to share your value? All the brilliant things that you have, you're not able to share that if you're not able to express yourself, if you're not able to receive the training that you need. So people think, Joel went to Budo, he went to these schools, he did law, he's the one who's supposed to speak. He can speak. I can't speak. Yeah. And then people also have this perception of to be a good speaker, you need to be on a stage, either a political stage or have a podcast, or I don't know, you have to be some prominent person. No, you can have conversations. Effective communication, being able to speak and relate well with people can help you in your daily activities, in your relationships, in your work, in your community, in your family. Being able to articulate well can help you in any aspect of life. For instance, this is something that's common. You probably seen borders on a stage. Yeah. There's usually one who is very vocal and one who is very articulate.
Yeah.
Yes? Yes. There's someone like that. And you might think, oh, but he hasn't gone for a training class. No. He speaks all the time. Yeah, he speaks all the time. And the more he speaks, he gets better. He learns how to listen to people. He learns how to react. He might be not as structured, but the fact that he continues to do it all the time, training the muscle, is evidence that he is improving himself, as opposed to someone who will just keep quiet and just be silent. So some of the things that people think, some of them, the fears that people have is that, or misconceptions, is that some people are born natural speakers. I have to be on a stage to speak. I'm not very eloquent. Yeah, I don't have a very wide variety of vocabulary. My English is basic, or my language is basic. Those are just myths. You don't have to be eloquent. You don't have to have a wide range of words. You can use simple words, but if they're clear, you are effective in your communication. Yeah, so it's just a few things that deter people from actually taking up space with their voices. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah, sometimes you just feel like it's supposed to be like a gift, maybe you're born with, and yeah, you should be able to like just naturally step into it. But people just don't see like the background work these people do that we see on stages.
Sure.
We just assume they just got there, it just happened. He just happened to speak and he was so eloquent, but probably has struggled with the same problems you are struggling with now, but he has just put in the work really. And also I love that you treat speech as a muscle. For if you keep training it, you stop it from atrophying because now it keeps building onto that. And I think that's really spot on. Yeah, that's really spot on. Then there is always that need to filler silences. For example, when the thought process is happening, when you're thinking, and I used to face this problem as well a lot. I think I still do sometimes, where I would want to say was like I think now I've got it better at regulating it, but before I was really bad. Like I would have a very brilliant speech, but now we had this thing in school where there was a Gavo Club. It's like a public speaking platform, and even with my good speech, people would count the count or the filler word count, and it would be to around 20, and you're like, oh, I didn't even notice that I used so many of those. So how do we avoid this? Because and it deters people from listening to what you're saying, because every time I'm scrolling on social media, I find like someone starts and they're like, so, and every single time I don't want it to happen because I know it's a natural challenge that everyone faces and I should be empathetic towards these people. But then I'm like, I don't want to consume their content because there are too many filler words. So how do we overcome that?
Great. The filler words and filler sounds and catch words. So these ones are, do you know how they come up? Let me start from there. Usually when you're saying you're between thoughts.
Yeah. Yes.
You're between thoughts, and then your mouth is opening. And your brain, when your mouth opens, because your brain knows that you want to speak, but you're not ready to say the word, a sound comes out. And we are unconscious about it. Most people are conscious about it because they're not aware that it's a filler sound on a word. Good for you, you have the consciousness now. I think the first step is knowing that this is not a good thing. It doesn't add value to you. That's the first step, knowing that this doesn't add value to you. We might not be able to completely eliminate them from ourselves because we are human, but awareness, once you're aware and you start working towards reducing them, it becomes very, very effective. How do you do that? Of course, so simple as that. Imagine there's nothing wrong with keeping words. Silence is actually powerful, and I think I would encourage us to lean into it. But you see, there's an art to silence. You don't just keep quiet. You keep quiet in strategic ways when you're speaking. For instance, you can actually keep quiet at the beginning of your speech, but then also it depends on what you're trying to portray and who you are. Because silence gives you power. When someone keeps quiet, they control the room. Do you feel that energy?
Yeah, I feel that shift.
You felt it? Yeah. Yeah, it's very powerful. You control the room. Yeah. And imagine you say something powerful. For instance, what's powerful in being you want to say, Joel? Anything powerful.
Anything powerful?
Yes.
I don't. Yeah, it's so abrupt. I didn't expect that question, but maybe I would advise people to look inward, introspect. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Or if you say, tomorrow is Black Friday.
Oh yeah, adverts use that a lot.
Yes.
Yeah. When they get to the main message, there is a way they slow down.
They slow down. You know why you slow down? For your audience. Remember, the audience is the main person, the people you're trying to get this message to. It's not about you. You're a conduit. The audience. So you want to get the audience's attention. Tomorrow is Black Friday. Everyone is tuning. Okay, what are you going to say? What's at the price?
What about Black Friday?
Yes, what about Black Friday? Is it 90% off? Maybe I've been wanting to buy a phone. Yeah, is it now 90% off? What directions are you giving us? Yeah. So you capture the audience with silence. But silence can also center you. Sometimes you are speaking, and because you're human, your thoughts get jumbled up. So you slow down. Keep quiet for a moment. Get your thoughts together and continue. It's very okay. as opposed to just rushing through things. You know, when you go ratatatata, 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 your audience is also going ratatatata, ratatatata, ratatatata. What are you saying? What are you saying? So it's okay for you to slow down. And when you slow down, you're not going to be like, so, you know, like, and then all that later is eliminated when you slow down. So actually, silence is powerful. It is powerful, but there's an art to it, and we teach it. We teach it in our classes. Yeah.
So you're saying the best time to pause is when you're in between thoughts. Like it's okay to like pause and recollect what you're going to say next.
Yes.
Then the other part where you would want to pause is if you want to say something very fundamental. Like your next topic is your hook, or then it's like the catchphrase, as we said, like the Black Friday example. Those are the best times to pause. Are there any other times?
When you say something very impactful.
Like after, not before you say, even after.
Even when I say it, like I say something and stop, full stop.
Oh,
yes. And I leave you to ponder on it.
Okay.
For instance, I would say by the end of this day, by the end of today, we are going to have 50 billion in our account. You're thinking, what? That we're just thinking, what? How? How is it be to come? Then you go on and tell them how it's going to come. You get back a mirror. Yes, so you give the audience time to think, as opposed to me saying, by the end of this day, we're going to have 50 billion. And then I continue. Yesterday, we had 1 million shillings. And then,
Yeah, becomes less impactful.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's a very good trick. I'm going to start incorporating it.
Yes.
Yeah. I happen to like write a lot, and when you are explaining it, I kind of got it in my own kind of manner, because usually when you're writing a text 1 essay or a novel, what you want to do is that when you reach like an important point that you want your readers to focus on, you won't put a full stop, then you're going to give it 1 line. So that's why you find like usually in novels, let me say my major line is something about like whatever it could be. Usually it has its own paragraph. So I feel like the power that paragraph produces is the same power a pause in your speech would produce. I don't know if that's spot on, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So when I started speaking, like I said, on Gavo, on camera during this podcast and talking to people, it became quite easy, as you said, because of the muscle memory. Then I was like, oh yeah, I'm getting good at this. I'm getting good at this, because even the reviews coming out, they're like, oh yeah, I no longer use enough. I no longer use too many filler words. I pause when the right time to pause. I listen to the guests. So you're doing all the basics. But I thought that would be like it. So one time I was at home and I was like, you know what? I was in like a drought, or I had little content to post. So I was like, since I'm not interviewing for now, as I'm looking for a new studio, let me record content at home, because I do still have something to say, even though maybe I just don't have like the right resources to say now. So I was like, but I can make that happen. To get a camera and buy a few like microphones and then record at home. Then I realized that when I was talking to the camera, it became very much harder. Like I could not articulate whatever I was going to say, like before, like the one I'm jobbing to right now. It was a different kind of experience, and it can even be understood by someone who was trying to record content at home on their own. It's like, I don't know, it's like imposter syndrome times 100. Every bad feeling, negative feeling you have about public speech, you just multiply it like 100. And you know what causes that? Because you're literally talking to a non-living thing. Because it's easier for me to talk to you right now because we're having a conversation. But if I was with this camera alone in this room, even though I've tried to get good at it, I would still face like a bit of friction. I would sense it in myself. And do you probably know why is that?
I think you have the answer. You say the answer within your what should I say? You're talking to a non-living being. As humans, we're a big
Clear.
Community, yes? So if I'm talking to a wall, I think.
Oh yeah, not at the I can't even talk to a wall, because no one goes and talks to walls. Yeah.
Yes, unless you are seeing things in the wall. Yes. So you're built for community, for communion. So you want to talk to something that reacts.
Mm-hmm.
Let's back to the audience.
Oh yeah.
So even when you prepare, you need to think about how you want your audience to react. Yeah. If I slow down, how do I want them to react to this? Yeah. If I'm talking about something exciting, I want them to smile.
Yeah.
Yeah. If I'm telling a story, I want to draw their emotions in it. Yeah. So if you're talking and the thing is just there, lifeless, it takes away from me. It does take away from you. So it gets difficult when you talking to a camera without anyone there. But it's something that can be, if you have no option and you're doing that, what then can you do? Look at what you're recording. Look at what you're recording. Look at what you're recording. Now the image inside here is now you speaking, and then you outside here is the audience. Get what I mean?
Yeah.
So you're looking at the speaker inside there and you're the audience. So now you're reacting to what you say. And that will inform how your audience will react to you. So you can use that to improve. So if you're alone and you don't have anyone to talk to and you're recording, still think about the audience. You can even imagine them there. You can imagine them there and imagine what person X would feel. Or you imagine someone is there and then you gesture to him. When you gesture to him, you are bringing out an emotion. And when you're bringing out an emotion, it's felt, because emotions are felt, as opposed to just looking at the wall and speaking without emotion. Get what I mean? So we are built for community. That's why people don't survive when they're loyal. If they want to really punish you, they put you in, what's it called? Isolation in a prison.
Yeah, that's
Well, yes. So it really affects your mind that you can run crazy. So for us to be able to interrupt, to send a message across, just remember that the audience is the key thing. And the audience is people. And then you might ask, okay, yeah, I'm on an online meeting. How then do I connect to my audience? You can connect to your audience. There are people there. Yes, sometimes people's cameras are not on, sometimes because cameras are off, but their voice is on the other side. Knowing that the thought of knowing that there are people on the other side should let you know that that is actually an audience. They might not be seated before you physically, but they're there. They are there. Same thing as if you're doing a solo podcast, maybe with no one at this end, should know that at the end, at the back side of a camera, there are people. How do you want them to receive your message? What reactions, what emotions you want to instill? What message do you want to send across? And what reaction do you want to get from them? So it's really not about you. You're the mouthpiece. And that mouthpiece has to do an excellent job. Yes.
Yeah. That helps a lot, actually. Yeah, and I love the point of you embody your audience. And I don't think this is restricted to just camera content. It's also like usually when you're talking to other people, let me say you're talking to a stage and you're telling a sad story, but you sound so stoic. So like audience gets confused, like the content does not match the facial reaction.
Right.
Yeah, and I love that. So if you're giving and you're talking about something exciting in your life, like guys, guess what? Then you're supposed to be vibrant as well. And usually the way we usually express this now leads me to the next question I was going to ask. Body gestures and body language. So now, I love evolutionary biology. So one time I found something interesting. I was reading about evolutionary biology and I found that usually back in the day, when these apes or as humans were but underdeveloped, when they couldn't see your hands, they would freak out. They would consider you an enemy. Because by then our brains were like as developed as they are in the modern times, because we keep adding on to each other. The development we do now will be talked up by the next generation like that. So back then that was like a social cue. Like this person is dangerous or this person is like that. So now, and then I watched Vanessa Van Edwards. I don't know if you know her. She's a brilliant public speech therapist, I think. So she was talking about that if maybe I was talking to you and I kept hiding my hands like this and we're having a conversation, you'd really think that something's up with this guy. Like something's weird. Your brain is registered with something weird, even though you can't expressly like point it out, but your brain is like, something weird is going on. So now that's the whole idea behind body language, movements, and using it, like how you use your body language and stuff. So that's the thing I wanted to ask you. How can we use our body language? And of what effect is it really to use your body language when you're communicating?
Okay, brilliant. So I'll start by saying, for a speaker or anybody who is communicating, your voice is the most powerful tool. Most powerful tool. Your voice. Most powerful tool. But body language takes more than 50%. For instance, I might not say something, I might not say anything, but you can read a message. You can definitely read a message. You can tell when someone is angry or bothered or something. I like the examples that you gave of the apps. Yeah. For them, they know that if I don't see your hands, danger. Why are you hiding your hands? There's something wrong here. So we need to defend ourselves. Same thing. And the thing about body language is that it has to be in tandem with your words, your most powerful tool, which is your voice. And the way we are created, biology, is that naturally, if we don't feel any restraint or any fear, these things are naturally in tandem. So if I'm excited, you'll see it in my eyes. If I am sad, you will see it in my eyes, even when I'm talking. But because we are human and we are brilliant, we can manipulate our bodies. And this is how liars get away with things, is that most liars don't use their gestures. They know that for me to lie,
Like betray them.
But the eyes don't betray. So they will not use their hands. Because if you want to say, for instance, let's try something. Try saying 5 and putting up 2 fingers.
5. Yeah, it feels weird.
It feels weird. If you say continuously, you find yourself doing this. I can't say 2. Like, even my hands are twitching. Like,
Yeah, and even if this is happening while I'm on command, because it's now imagining like in real life circumstances. I don't think
So they work together. And it takes a lot. And sometimes that a lot is fear. Remember, focusing on yourself, saying you're not good enough, all the things going through your mind. People are going to think I'm not qualified for this. That's how you start shaking.
That just works.
You start shaking, your eyes start darting, you start speaking, you put your hands aside, you're looking at the ground. Like, you're clearly frightened or you just want the ground to swallow you up. Hashtag, I would rather die than speak. Remember?
Yeah.
Like, that's where the fear comes from. Because you're focusing on yourself. So, for you to develop your gestures, you have to sit in yourself and know that, you know what? I need to breathe. It's not about me. I need to be able to align my message, what I'm saying, with the words that are coming out. Okay, what I'm saying with my words, with my body. And that takes preparation. So the thing remember, preparation is all about, this goes back to training. Yeah, the muscle, build the muscle. Build the muscle, build the muscle. Train, it's someone to help you along the journey, or record yourself and look at yourself again and be like, I was saying this, but it doesn't feel like this is what I meant. Yeah, so it's about expressing yourself, being comfortable enough. When you're comfortable enough, for instance, if you're having an informal conversation, maybe you're just chilling with your friends, there is no pressure at all. Even the people who say they don't speak, or are afraid of speaking, will speak comfortably because there's no pressure. But once you introduce pressure, all these fears come out because you feel inadequate. So the goal of training is for you to bring you out of that out of those fears and remind you, hey, it's just that you're talking to more people or you're talking more frequently, and it's not really about you. It's about the message that you have. So how then can we, improve your delivery? So things like gestures. definitely speak for themselves. They enhance what you're trying to say. For instance, I want to say if it was something really big or it was really huge, it was very tall. Can't say it was very tall. Yeah, but if I say it's very tall, especially if I'm telling a story, it will help illustrate or give a description of what I'm trying to say. And it adds to the words that I'm using, the adjectives that I'm using. Made it happy. It was rough. Yeah, it was. Imagine how, the rock, a rugged rock. I'm a big say a rugged rock. You get what I mean? It's a rugged rock and it has, it's jarred, that jarred endings. That image stays in someone's mind as opposed to just say the rock was jarred and what. Get what I mean? So a gesture is something that enhances delivery and not just gestures, your voice, your posture. For instance, we like to, for your voice to come out well. If you're seated, sit up straight. Yeah, sit up straight so your voice is projected. If you're standing, stand up straight. Have an open stance. Don't cross your hands, because this shows you be defensive. Yeah. Back to the animal world. Where your hands, things like that. So having an open stance on movement, moving intentional. If you're emphasizing things, you lean forward. Lean forward if you're emphasizing things. If you're talking about something relaxed or just want to lay it back, you will bounce. New people time to think, or retreat. So all the intentional movements are very key to the way we debate. And it's people who have mastered this art who we then look up to and be like, oh my goodness. Remember how I talked about the people I look up to, Chimamanda, Maya Angelou, and if you notice all these people, and I'm sure the people who you enjoy listening to, they are all different. And the point is not to be like them or copy them. It's about finding your unique voice and finding your presentation style. Yes, just embody who you are to be able to deliver. So gestures and the body is more than 50% of communication. Non-verbal communication is more than 50%. So it's very, very, very important. You can't speak like a non-living thing. But how you told me you're talking to the camera and you just felt, so even you can't just be speaking like a log. Yeah. There's no emotion. People, your audience will not be engaged. Yeah, will not be engaged.
Yeah. I think, I agree with that part of non-verbal communication being more than 50%, irrespective of the message. Because the same person, Vanessa Van Edwards, conducted like a research on the most famous TED Talks, people presented TED Talks. And then she realized that, irrespective of the communication, is that people who use like, let me say, quadruple the gestures that a normal average speaker would have used and more views. And their TED Talks were among the most viewed TED Talks. But then people had like very good messages to present, but their body language was limited to around 0 to 50. Their TED Talks were very low, irrespective of that message being very important. And then I also noticed this when I was doing my YouTube and TikTok analytics. Because before, when I was interviewing people, we had like a round table kind of setting, because I wanted to embody like the Diary of a CEO podcast, the way he conducts his interviews with the table. But then I realized something, that every time I would put a table, then people would not find it like useful to like use their body language or their body gesture.
Your hand.
Yeah, so they'll raise higher under the table. Yeah, so it could be like normal, we're having a conversation, then an occasional maybe put the hand on the table, but then put it back down. I'd realized that when you're above the table, because that's why this particular setup, we decided to get rid of the center table, is that now people wanted to fill the space, right? So they use their body gestures more. And every time someone used their body gestures more, even the analytics will show that, irrespective of the message, could have been something mundane or something that people have said 100 times over, but you see that the viewership is high. Yet something that is very fundamental to like maybe people's understanding of human psychology or whatever it could be, there's something that will change someone's life. You find that the viewership is really low because the person kept talking like this. Yeah, and also, then I was like, to how does Steve Bartlett do it? Like the Diary of a CEO, I think very many people watched it. So I went and researched. I was like, how come he uses a center table, but he has so many views? Then I realized that he intentionally researched for the specific center table he bought. Then I was like, I was trying to copy this person and I didn't have all the information. For example, you were saying that his center table was more that it matches the chairs in a way that when you push the chair inside, there is no space left for your hands. You have no choice but to put your hands on the table. And when you're speaking, you just end up using them. Then I was like, that's such a brilliant thing to have a center table in that manner. So it's like I copied, but I didn't take the entire information. And yeah, given what you've said, I just think nonverbal communication is so fundamental to like communication in general. Then do your students or the people you're coached in the past, do you people do vocal exercises? Is it a fundamental part before delivering a speech, or it's just it is something we can go without?
When you say vocal exercises, like musicians,
Yeah.
vocal training.
Yeah, because usually when you see people at the backstage like musicians, you find them jumping, then making noise in a certain manner.
Yeah.
Then also people, I don't remember the person I was watching. I forgot his name, but he's half Vietnamese, half Korean. I think very many people know him. It's called Vin something.
Means.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you were saying that for him, given that he grew up Vietnamese, he could not enunciate English words that were an English person who. So he had to do like exercises for it. This involved like paying extraordinary amounts of money to speech therapists and also kind of doing some vocal exercises, like the way he would like maybe beat his thingy. It was a lot. He had like a variety of exercises. I'll attach his video in the bio so that you check them out. But I kept wondering, is it like something fundamental that we have to do before we deliver something very intentional and something that can be digested by the audience, or we can just, go and speak as long as we have the fundamentals of no filler words, body language, and what? Yeah, and I wanted to get your perspective on that same issue.
Okay, for starters, or just start off, we don't do voice exercises in our training. What we do though is encourage you as a student, because this is the advantage we have is most of our students or most of our participants are Ugandan, East Africa. English is here. You've studied English, so it's a good thing. You might have influence of your mother tongue, which is also okay. And speaking is not limited to English. You can learn how to express yourself in your mother tongue or any other language. It's a skill that you learn, and you can use it in whichever language. So we don't do voice training in terms of voice drills. Sorry, what we do is we do the things that encourage your voice to come out. Sit up, stand up, stand straight. Tone is the emotion within your voice. So you have to be cognizant of what you're saying. Are you saying something exciting, or is it dire? Yeah, so your tone. So we train you on how to develop your tone. Volume, yeah, how loud or soft you want your voice to be. Speed of the voice, yes. When you're saying something, if it's something dramatic, very dramatic, and maybe the intensity, there's a lot of intensity. Maybe you're talking about something that happened too fast. You want to go and talk about it in a fast way. Yeah, and if you want to talk about something that's slowed down, you want to go at that pace.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of training that we use in our master classes. Yes. Yeah, that's it. That's a quick answer.
Okay. Yeah, I think that helps as well. Then most people say that I'm not going to pursue anything like political. I'm not interested in being a leader. I don't ever want to speak to people. The ones who will understand me. But then we see, that speech cuts across, the way you communicate cuts across, like in very many domains. So like, for example, let me say relationship, or maybe your other personal relationships you have with very many various people. Of what importance is knowing how to speak in those relationships, other than being a leader?
Okay. Of all the creations, all the animals and everything that was created, we have the ability to speak. That means we can be understood by someone else. And we all do different things. You might be in business, you might be a career person, you might be a family person, community leader, whichever. You have the ability, the unique ability to speak and communicate, say something to the other person. And not just about saying. Sometimes this is communicating value, your own value. Maybe it's the work that you do, the services that you provide, or just who you are, communicating that to another person. Like I said before, it's not about being on a stage. It's not about having multiple people. It can be just a one-on-one conversation. Yeah, a dialogue like this. Yeah, that enables you to be understood, enables your message to be taken in the right way, the way that it's in your head. Remember, we talked about that. The way it is in your head, you want it to come out to the other person and the people who are listening to you. So it's a fundamental thing. We talked about the right to speak. It's a fundamental right around the world for human beings, not for any other animal. So why would you have this right and you know it's your right and not develop it if it's the right that actually portrays your value? So I think it's eminence that we develop this value. It's our rights to speak. We ought to speak well. And it doesn't matter which language you're speaking in or for what purpose you're speaking, speak well. But even as you're speaking well, one of the key things that a good speaker does is listening. And you brought it up at some point.
Yeah.
Listening is such a fundamental skill that unfortunately we're not very keen on building. Many times we listen to respond, like you say, we're not even listening. We're hearing what the other person is saying and we are thinking what we're going to say next. But if you're able to listen, especially if you are doing moderations of broadcasting or you're a leader of any sort, in a workplace or in a family or whatever, you should be able to listen to what someone is saying and not saying. Remember we talked about non-verbal? So sometimes you pick up on the cues of what someone is not saying and you're able to follow up on questions or make a decision or start a conversation in a particular direction because of what someone is not saying. But also just naturally listening enables the person who is speaking to be heard and seen. So it's a very good practice to listen. And it's something that every speaker or communicator, and even if I'm speaking to an audience, maybe there are 4 or 5 people here, much as I'm speaking, I'm also listening. I'm listening to you simultaneously as I speak. I'm listening for your reactions. And those reactions do what? They inform how I will take on my next course or how I continue to deliver. Because I might be speaking to you and I realize you're looking at me, but you're not listening or you're off.
Yeah.
That will inform how I'm going to
respond.
Am I going to ask you a question? Am I going to take it this direction? Are we going to have a break? Yes, things like that. So listening is a very key skill that enables effective communication.
Yeah, I think it's true. Also, I've just learned that in our personal relationships, we just don't know like how to communicate certain feelings. For example, and this is very common among men. If let me say, if someone made fun of your haircut, a man like a large group of people, so the most credible thing to do is probably tell this person, hey, I did love that you made fun of my haircut, but then they won't ask you, why don't you love it? So now you have to have words to articulate your feelings about the issue. Maybe the thing you would have said would have been that, it kind of makes me small. You're someone I look up to, and every time he says something, it kind of affects my self-esteem. So in a way, it does not help our friendship. But then most times we don't have the words for that. You just feel it, like what I said at the start. It's like a smell. You just feel it within you, like it's because of them. But you can't say it's because I respect you as a friend and I value your comment about me among other people. So when you say that, it kind of made me feel underappreciated. Yeah, but we rarely have those words. So it suffocates friendships because you're like, even if I bring it up, then what will I say? You don't know what to say. So I think this will be second last question. What's that one public speaking principle you would leave like the listeners or the audience with? Yeah, like just one. It could be anything, maybe. Yeah.
Okay. Before I answer that, let me just circle back to what you say about words. And it also circles back to what I say as us being humans. We have the unique. We have such a uniqueness that we use our words. So let's use our words. Sometimes we bottle up things.
Yeah.
So it's like a mother telling a child, I have a friend who keeps telling her child, kids also don't know how to express themselves. They just cry and wait. Like you say, it's in the beginning, there's so much going on in your head, but you don't know how to bring it out. Use your words. So she tells her child, use your words. Use your words. So we can learn how to use our words. It's something that we can learn how to use our words. You might fumble with them, but we can learn how to use them to express what is going on.
Yeah, actually, were you going to answer that question?
Yes, what you could go.
Oh yeah, I wanted to, before we move on from this specific subtopic, I've remembered some research study on divorce. They were saying usually the cause of divorce is not like a one-time action thing that has happened now. They were saying it's usually a long-time suffocation of communication that has happened within the relationship, which goes back this thing, the analogy I gave about someone commenting on your haircut who's your friend. So that's the thing. Maybe it's usually, for example, they say partners who usually like come and leave their stockings on the floor, do not put their shirt back in the wardrobe or in the laundry basket, they just throw it on the bed. And then this thing keeps infuriating you, but you don't even know how to approach the matter. Because if you tell someone, I just don't like when you just throw your shirts around, it's going to seem like as if you're coming off shallow.
Yeah.
But there is an underlying emotion to that. Because maybe the underlying emotion is that I don't feel like you respect me enough. And that's the actual thing causing the resentment. But because you don't have the right words to articulate, it could be anything else really. You don't have the right words to articulate it. You end up building that resentment over time, small things. Then one thing just snaps you off. That's why you hear people say, we divorced because he forgot to pick the child from school. Objectively, it would have been something to cause a divorce, because it would be something said, but why did you do this? And then we solve it there. But then it now caused a whole divorce. And that's because of so many things you've been doing that I cannot communicate. And it's a two-party thing. I'm doing those things and you're also not able to articulate. Or even sometimes, how they say, uncommunicated expectations lead to resentment, unpredicted resentment. Because if I'm not able to tell you that I love flowers occasionally, once in a while surprise me with flowers at the start of a relationship. And me, I've grown up thinking, I don't have, when you know men grow up, it's like a normal thing. When do we ever get gifted or gift other people flowers? So if it's not a common thing, you end up resenting your husband or boyfriend because they don't get you flowers. It is something you could have communicated and give a reason why you do love flowers. Because most people, when we learn communication, we stop on communicating to the surface. So make sure you buy me flowers. Then the guy genuinely wants to understand why though. Then you're like, just buy them. But usually the underlying feeling would be like, I feel seen every time you give me flowers. I feel loved, appreciated, yeah. And when you say that, I feel like most men, as long as they're non-psychopathic, they will be able to like go through with that and value the flowers. And it applies to so many other things, yeah. Yeah, so that, yeah, can answer the question.
What was the question?
What place public or speech principle does adopt a public space that you would leave people with, the audience with?
I think for me, the overarching one is preparation.
Yeah.
And preparation is something that's continuous. You don't do it once. You know what we talked about, the muscle. You have to keep preparing the muscle. So you prepare before you speak. Do not always assume that you know what you're going to say. It's always good practice to just prepare. And the more you prepare, sometimes as you become better, your preparation time becomes smaller or shorter because you're gaining mastery. Yeah. So over time. But what do you look at in your preparation? Fundamentals for someone who is starting up, knowing that your speech should at least have an opening, a beginning. What are you going to say? How are you going to start it? Then take us into the body. What is the main thing here? And then taper it off with that conclusion. So prepare. Even the most brilliant speakers, even today, prepare. Even the most brilliant actors, all these guys getting awards, they prepare. Even the most brilliant musicians, even the most brilliant actors, politicians, no one wakes up and they're like, okay, maybe they might be outliers or exceptions. But even if the exceptions, they have taken time to prepare to get to that point of being an exception. So you can't just say you're roasted. Remember where we started from? Roasted. You can't be raw materials your whole life. Prepare. Add value to yourself. What preparation does is that it adds value to yourself every day. Yes, so preparation is very key in that book. And everyone can prepare, whichever stage you're at. If you're a basic speaker, intermediate, to the far end of the spectrum, preparation. It's very vital.
Yeah, thank you for that last principle or last advice. Then now we usually have an opening tradition here wherever I might ask you an icebreaker question, but this time we didn't have it, so I was thinking maybe let's just have it as a conclusion. So the icebreaker question was supposed to be, what's the worst life advice you've ever received?
What's the worst life advice I've ever received? The worst life advice. That's tricky one.
Yeah.
It's a tricky one. You know, people always go for the best, not the worst.
Or you can give us both. You can start with the best as you think about you.
Let's speak about the worst. Oh, the worst advice I've ever received. And is that you can do everything by yourself.
Oh.
You cannot do everything by yourself. It will break you. It will definitely break you. Yeah. Community.
Really,
Yes. You can't be all everything plus some cake. Yes. You know, you take yourself.
You two are in the middle of the episode, you're like, if they can punish the worst of criminals by putting them in what? Isolation, then how about you, a normal person who doesn't even have the habitual traits?
Yeah. Hey. I don't remember why I picked up that advice, but just, and it's all rooted in elevation of self, which can be misconstrued. Yes. So we have to be very careful with some of the things we listen to. Much as we want to be better and self-aware and all these things and self, it's very easy for us to get twisted into thinking we can do everything by ourselves.
Yeah, that's true. And it happens like very highly conscientious people, go-getters. Yeah, they get into the loop of hyper-independence. They just feel like, I don't need anyone. I can figure it out on myself. Yeah. Also, I think the way people sometimes they're raised.
Yes.
You over depended on your parents and you go through resentment, maybe an desired outcome out of it. So you decide that when I grow up, I will be, or maybe your parents are so strict and you just feel like I need to be hyper independent. But I think that's brilliant life advice because we can't do it on our own.
Yes, and you can't, and you cannot, and you might even think you can teach yourself to stick better.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You might have limitations. Just get help.
Yeah. Or also maybe let's close with this. I just remembered one more thing about that. Trevor Noah saying that one of his most laughable statements, like the one he finds extremely laughable, is that people will say, I'm a self-made millionaire.
Oh,
He's like, how is that even possible? So you want to tell me you didn't have friends who helped you? You didn't have people you, like, even if it wasn't expressed, but people you called when you were suffering, when you had a problem, people you leaned on. And it was like, there's no such thing as a self-made millionaire. I just think it's just rooted in ego.
Yeah.
So we go, all right, here we just need community. Sure. Thank you for coming. This has been brilliant, and I hope the audience has picked up some action points on how to improve their public speech and personal communication.
Thank you, Joel, for this opportunity. And should your listeners need any guidance, we have an ebook available. I will share the link with you.
I'll attach it in the bio of this episode. Thank you for coming.
You're welcome.